everyone, and welcome to the premiere episode of What the Fandom, brought to you by Fan EXPO Studios. I'm Katie Wilson, and I will be hosting this bi-weekly romp through pop culture. Here, you can expect all the things you get at Fan EXPO shows, including special guests, industry pros, and most importantly, you, the fans. On top of all that, we'll be introducing some fun news segments like exploring tropes in movies, reviews, fan casts, unboxings, cosplay specials, and so much more. Welcome to episode 1. Here's what to expect. Cosplay photographer Jeff Jenkins will walk us through some tips to consider when snapping cosplay. Fan EXPO's own James White will recast the Highlander as if it were made today. We also have a special message from the cast of hit web series The Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye ahead of its Fan EXPO premiere. I will be walking us through the trope and discussing what happened this week in comic history. I couldn't be more excited to be a part of this with you all, so let's get started. Here is cosplay photographer Jeff Jenkins.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Jenkins from Jeff Jenkins Photography. You can find me on Instagram at Jeff Jenkins Photography. I'm also the official red carpet photographer for MegaCon Orlando. And here are my 5 tips if you're just getting into cosplay photography. Number 1, be respectful and professional. If you've ever been to a convention or hung around cosplayers much, you've probably heard the phrase, cosplay is not consent. This is very important, and that's why it's the first topic I'm covering. It's a touch-free environment. You should never be touching the cosplayer or making adjustments to their costume. If you see something out of place, you can always turn them so that it's a different angle or have their friends make the adjustment for you. Be transparent and communicate. Being professional in photography is always being transparent with your customer. Make sure you're upfront with them on how you're going to organize and meet up for the shoot. Make sure you let them know how you handled payments, your digital delivery, the turnaround time for the photos after you're done editing. Number 3, be quick. Conventions are hectic and have a ton of things going on. So if you have an organized shoot somewhere, get there a few minutes early. This goes for cosplayers as well. Try to get there a few minutes early and wrap it up on time. That way all parties can get on to their next scheduled item. Number 4, pack light. This covers 2 items I like to touch base on. Packing light as in minimal gear, and packing light as in bringing a lighting setup of some sort. The first comes down to being able to move in a convention area. Make sure you bring an external flash. The convention hall lighting is sometimes very harsh on skin, and you want to make sure that you get the best photos possible. I recommend a lighting stand with an external flash and a softbox. But pay attention to your convention hall's restrictions because not all of them allow lighting stands. Number 5, don't snipe. Getting into cosplay photography may seem overwhelming, and approaching cosplayers to organize shoots even more so. But one of the worst things you can do is snipe off of other photographers. Now, when I say snipe, it's you're taking photos of a cosplayer that's working with another photographer. Word of mouth is our best advertisement and can be great to those that follow some simple rules and tips. So follow this rule and don't snipe. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope this was helpful in starting your journey into cosplay photography.
Thanks, Jeff. That was just a snapshot of our conversation with Jeff. We'll be uploading the full video very shortly. Jeff can be found, as always, on the red carpet at MegaCon Orlando and on Instagram at Jeff Jenkins Photography. Now, for this week in comic history, we look back to May 24th, 1988, and the release of David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane's Amazing Spider-Man 300. This monumental issue gave us the first real, kinda sorta appearance of Venom, as the symbiote bonded with Eddie Brock. It has everything from the Fantastic Four, a suggestion of racy photos from Mary Jane. It also saw a return to red and blue Peter Parker after the events of Secret Wars, and most importantly, it spawned, get it? Spawned, a bunch of spin-offs, and helped launch the wider Spider-Verse we enjoy today. Amazing Spider-Man 300 has a record sale of $15,000. Join us next time for This Week in Comic History. Fan casts are a favorite and most controversial pastime of fandom. I remember when the internet was fan casting Dylan O'Brien a few years ago and totally stand by the fact that he would make a great Cyclops in a future X-Men movie. At What the Fandom, we want to hear from you and your fan casts. Let us know what you would like to fan cast and you could be featured on an upcoming episode. First, We want to put our money where our mouths are. Here is Fan Expo's own James White bringing his fan cast of 1986's The Highlander.
Hey Fan Expo fam, my name is James. I am the Director of Content here at Fan Expo HQ, and here are my choices for a fan cast of The Highlander. For those of you that don't know, The Highlander is a 1986 British fantasy action-adventure film directed by Russell McKay and starring, among others, Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery and Clancy Brown. It chronicles the climax of an age-old conflict between immortal warriors trying to survive and claim the prize. Unfortunately, it performed pretty poorly upon release, earning only about $12 million worldwide off of a $90 million budget, but it has since become a cult classic, inspiring, unfortunately, some not so great spin-offs and sequels, but it has given the pop culture world something great, the immortal tagline, "There can be only one." But is that true? Can there really be only one cast? Let's find out. So first up, we have Connor McLeod, the titular hero of the movie. And I only really had one rule for this fan cast, and that was that Connor had to be played by a Scotsman. And I have chosen Richard Madden. Now, Madden is best known as playing Robb Stark from Game of Thrones, as well as his critically acclaimed and Golden Globe winning performance in the BBC thriller series Bodyguard. Now, Madden was really my first and only choice for this role. He has the action credentials, but he can bring A-plus talent to the more emotional scenes in the movie. Who can forget the Red Wedding after all, as well as some cheeky playfulness that the character of Connor requires. Oh yeah, and he has the accent, which is definitely a step up from Christopher Lambert. I'm sorry, Chris, at least you tried. Next up, we have Brenda Wyatt, Connor's love interest in the movie, originally played by Roxanne Hart. I am choosing Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Now, you may think that's a bit of an odd choice, but to me, Brenda is a mix of girl next door, typical dogged scientist, but with a little bit of a tougher persona, which is why I've chosen Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She personifies that girl next door charm. Anyone who's seen Scott Pilgrim knows that. But her performances in movies like 10 Cloverfield Lane perfectly highlight that she can play smart, stronger, and tougher characters. Plus, I don't know what it is, she always seems to just have a natural inquisitiveness about her. Maybe it's the eyes. It's a shame that the character wasn't given more than just a damsel in distress role at the end of the original movie, which is why I would want more action written into the character for Mary. I think she's perfectly suited for it. I'm not talking like over-the-top crazy action, just a chance to flex some of those Scott Pilgrim fight moves again. Next up, we have the Kurgan, my favourite character from the Highlander. Originally played by the awesomely talented Clancy Brown, I am choosing Jason Momoa. Now, this wasn't as easy to justify as I originally thought it would be. Of course, Momoa seems like the perfect fit straight out the gate. He's played Khal Drogo on Game of Thrones, Conan the Barbarian. He's 6'4" and built like a brick outhouse, but I was not 100% sold. He can physically play the part, but Clancy Brown had the perfect mix of arrogance, imposing will, and forever on the verge of being unhinged. But in the end, it took rewatching season 1 of Frontier to confirm it for me. In a series with way too many random plot lines and throwaway characters, Momoa's Declan Harp is a standout. He is part scheming tactician and part blood-soaked chaos demon, willing to do anything to get what he wants and mowing through anyone who stands in his way. If that doesn't sound like the Kurgan, who does? Next up, we have the character of Ramirez, played by Sean Connery in the original, and for this, I have chosen Antonio Banderas. Really, it's the only choice that came into my mind when thinking who could play the wisecracking and goofy Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez. He's the elder teacher and mentor of Connor, and who doesn't want to see the voice of Puss in Boots train Robb Stark to lop the heads off of immortal warriors? But seriously though, Banderas can bring charm, razor-like wit, and comedic whimsy to the character of Ramirez. Plus, he's able to swing a sword with the best of them, having starred in a slew of action titles during his career, ranging from Zorro, Desperado, and The Expendables. So fans, what do you think of my choices? Was I right, remotely close, or should I just skulk off back to my basement, never to be heard from again? Let us know who you would cast in your very own version of the Highlander. And let us know in the comment section below what other fan casts you want to see on this channel. You never know, you may end up in the next episode.
While this next segment will normally be called Trope of the Week, where we take an in-depth look at a trope that exists in movies, games, shows, and books, this week I'm just going to discuss tropes in general and ask you all for a favor. A trope, as our friend Merriam-Webster defines it, is a common or overused theme or device. To us, they surround us, they penetrate us, they bind the galaxy together. Well, maybe not, but they are an integral part of the content that we love. Tropes go back before the written word. Stories of gods and their fall, nature and its effects, heroes, villains, and human hubris have lived on through generations and have been passed down to become themes that cross cultures and time. It can be argued that the real modernization of the trope is best discovered and adapted in the work of William Shakespeare. He gave us star-crossed lovers, foreboding dreams and ghosts, betrayal of a friend. And while he didn't give us the happy ending, nobody put a bow around it as he did with All's Well That Ends Well. My question to you is, what trope would you like to see us dig deep on in later episodes? The final girl in horror movies, the MacGuffin, the cursed book, or maybe the character that manages to translate the ancient text only to realize they are looking in the wrong place. Or perhaps the more modern trope of a YouTube host asking for recommendations in the comments to boost engagement and elicit future segment ideas without having to think of them herself. Yeah. Let us know in the comments. One of my favorite tropes is the unassuming reporter who travels to an unassuming small town only to discover a supernatural secret hiding behind the townsfolk. On Saturday the 22nd, we are hosting a special screening of the Wayward Guide from the minds of the Tin Can Bros, starring Mary-Kate Wiles and Steve Zaragoza, and featuring some familiar faces in Sean Astin, Darren Criss, Carlos Valdez, and a host of others. Join us at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, as we watch the first 3 episodes together with the creators and take your questions live. Here's a sneak peek and a few words from the cast.
What's up, Fan Expo family?
We are chilled and thrilled to present to you Tin Can Brothers' newest web series, Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye.
Wayward Guide follows the adventures of Artemis and Paul Shoehorn, a twin podcasting duo investigating a mystery in the mining town of Connor Creek.
But what starts as a corruption investigation gets a lot hairier when it's revealed that the oddballs of this small town are harboring a dark and furry secret.
Wayward Guide was made possible by the generous support of nearly 2,500 Kickstarter backers and features an all-star cast of digital creators.
It was truly a profound experience bringing this project to life, and likely one that none of us will ever forget. So let's hear from some of the cast.
My experience on Wayward Guide was so much fun working with really funny people on a really funny script.
I was a massive fan of these guys growing up, so being able to finally work with them on the silliest, spookiest thing imaginable was like a fangirl's dream come true.
Truly, it was just this magical lightning in a bottle type experience and all the other cliche things, and I will cherish these memories that I have until better ones come along.
I had a really great time doing it. Working with your friends is truly as good as it can get, really.
We absolutely did not pay them to say those things.
I cannot wait for that, so set your alarms and make sure to join us for an exclusive screening and chat on the 22nd at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. Well, that's it for the first episode of What the Fandom. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Please let us know what you think. What tropes would you like us to dissect? And be sure to send us your ideas for a fan cast. I'm Katie Wilson, and I'll see you soon.